Imagine discovering an island that appears on modern maps, but almost nobody is allowed to visit. No tourists, no researchers, no journalists, no influencers, no cruise ships. Approaching the island is actually illegal, and the reason isn't a volcano, or a military base, or toxic chemicals. It's the people who live there. A community so isolated that they have rejected nearly all contact with the outside world. A people who have likely lived on this island for thousands of years. Welcome to North Sentinel Island, the forbidden island in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is located in the Andaman Islands, a chain of islands in the Bay of Bengal between India and Southeast Asia. The island itself is relatively small, only about 23 square miles. Dense rainforest covers much of the land. White beaches surround the coastline. Coral reefs encircle the island and act as a natural barrier against boats. From above, North Sentinel Island looks like a tropical paradise. Crystal blue water, pristine beaches, untouched forests. Yet despite its beauty, it remains one of the most inaccessible places on Earth. Not because it's difficult to find, but because nobody is allowed to go there. That's where the mystery begins. The truth is, we don't know much about them, and that's intentional. Anthropologists believe the Sentinelese may be descendants of some of the earliest human migrations out of Africa. Their ancestors may have lived in the region for tens of thousands of years. They hunt, they fish, they gather food from the forest, they build canoes, they create tools, and they have maintained their way of life despite the enormous changes happening everywhere else on Earth. Think about that. Empires rose and fell. Civilizations were built. The Industrial Revolution happened. The internet was invented. Human beings landed on the moon. And throughout all of it, the Sentinelese continued living largely on their own terms. For centuries, passing sailors occasionally reported seeing people on the island. But very few interactions occurred. Most ended quickly, often with islanders signaling outsiders to leave. In the late 1800s, British colonial expeditions attempted contact. The results were troubling. Several islanders were taken from the island. Most quickly became ill due to exposure to outside diseases. This would become a major lesson. Isolation wasn't just cultural, it was biological. The Sentinelese had little immunity to many diseases common elsewhere. Even a simple illness could potentially devastate the community. The experience helped shape future thinking about contact with isolated peoples. One of the most famous encounters occurred after the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004. Governments worried the island might have been destroyed. A helicopter was sent to check on the inhabitants. As it approached the shoreline, something remarkable happened. A Sentinelese man emerged onto the beach. He drew a bow and fired an arrow toward the aircraft. The message was unmistakable. The island had survived, and outsiders were still not welcome. The image became famous around the world, not because of hostility, but because it demonstrated how determined the Sentinelese remained to protect their independence. Today, India enforces a strict exclusion zone around North Sentinel Island. Approaching the island is illegal. Boats must stay away. Aircraft maintain distance. The purpose isn't to protect visitors, it's to protect the Sentinelese. History has repeatedly shown what can happen when isolated populations suddenly encounter outside diseases. Entire communities can be devastated. For the Sentinelese, even common illnesses could pose serious risks. By limiting contact, authorities hope to allow them to continue living as they choose. In many ways, North Sentinel Island has become one of the world's largest experiments in non-interference. A recognition that not every society wants to join the modern world. Despite the restrictions, some people still try to reach North Sentinel Island. And the results have often reinforced why the protection zone exists. In recent years, several fishermen have accidentally drifted too close to the island. Authorities regularly warn boats to stay away from the surrounding waters. The risks aren't only for visitors, they're also for the Sentinelese. Every unauthorized contact creates the possibility of disease exposure or conflict. One of the most widely reported incidents occurred in 2018. An American missionary named John Allen Chow paid local fishermen to take him near the island. His goal was to make contact with the Sentinelese. Despite repeated warnings from authorities and experts, he attempted to reach the shore. The outcome shocked the world. According to reports, the Sentinelese responded as they had many times before. They made it clear that outsiders were not welcome. Chow was killed during the encounter. The incident sparked international debate. Some argued he was exercising personal freedom. Others pointed out that he had knowingly violated laws designed to protect one of the world's most vulnerable, isolated communities. The event also highlighted a reality that many people overlook. North Sentinel Island is not a tourist destination. It is not an adventure challenge. It is the home of a living community. A community that has consistently expressed the same message for generations: leave us alone. Since then, Indian authorities have continued enforcing the exclusion zone around the island. Patrols monitor the area, boats are discouraged from approaching, and officials generally avoid any actions that might force contact. For many experts, the lesson is simple. The greatest act of respect may be keeping a distance. Because for the Sentinelese, isolation is not a problem that needs solving. It's a choice they have defended for centuries. One of the questions people ask most often is, how can they survive without modern technology? The answer is simple. Human beings survived for most of history without modern technology. The Sentinelese appear to fish in coastal waters. They hunt animals in the forest. They gather plants and fruits. They construct shelters. And they maintain a deep understanding of their environment. What seems impossible to outsiders may simply be normal life to them. The island itself provides much of what they need. The surrounding reefs help protect the coastline. The forests provide resources. The ocean provides food. For thousands of years, that has been enough. One reason the Sentinelese have remained isolated for so long is geography. The island is surrounded by shallow coral reefs. Large ships cannot easily approach the shoreline. Even smaller boats must navigate carefully. Dense jungle covers much of the interior. The island's natural barriers have protected it for centuries. Long before governments established exclusion zones, geography itself was helping keep outsiders away. In the age of satellites, it might seem impossible for a place to remain mysterious. Yet North Sentinel Island continues to surprise researchers. Satellite imagery can reveal the island's forests, beaches, and coastline. It can show changes in vegetation. It can identify structures or canoes along the shore. But satellites cannot tell us much about daily life. They cannot reveal the Sentinelese language. They cannot explain traditions. They cannot tell us stories passed from generation to generation. Even in the 21st century, there are limits to what technology can teach us. North Sentinel Island remains one of those rare places where mystery still exists. What language do they speak? How many people live there? What stories do they tell? What traditions do they practice? We don't know. And that's what makes North Sentinel Island so unique. In an age when satellites can photograph almost every corner of the planet, there are still places we don't fully understand. Still communities living beyond the reach of globalization. Still mysteries. North Sentinel Island reminds us that even in the 21st century, there are parts of the human story that remain unwritten. Our planet is filled with extraordinary places. Towns buried underground, villages inside volcanoes, communities surrounded by endless ocean, and one island where the people have chosen a different path. North Sentinel Island isn't fascinating because it's forbidden. It's fascinating because it reminds us that humanity is incredibly diverse. Not everyone wants the same future. Not everyone defines progress in the same way. And sometimes the most remarkable thing about a place is not what we know about it. It's what we don't. Welcome to North Sentinel Island, the island nobody is allowed to visit.